Hello and welcome to episode number 6 of Wrestling Unwrapped. And yes, well, it'll be Patrick and I reviewing St. Valentine's Day Massacre because this is Harry's birthday and Valentine's Day, and he is doing other things.
Well, I mean, the way you look at it is we're doing the show on Valentine's Day, and without Harry, it's going to be a massacre. So,
Very true.
thank you, Sean. Yes, it is the, well, at least in my case, the Valentine Loner episode of Wrestling Unwrapped. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. And as Sean mentioned, we are going to run down the final pay-per-view before Wrestlemania 15, and that is St. Valentine's Day Massacre, February the 14th, 1999, from the Pyramid in Memphis. Before we even get to that, though, how was your Valentine's Day, Sean?
Well, mine was pretty wrestling-filled. I stayed up watching that New Japan New Beginning show. Then I slept. The wife and I watched the movie, and we'd already done our Valentine stuff, so I kind of just tried to write the review for that show and then watch this this show that we had to review for this. So
all in all, uneventful.
yes, very. I mean the New Japan show was awesome, but other than that, yeah.
Congrats, Kenny Omega.
Yes, very much so.
Which I think was pretty much expected anyway, that he was going to take it.
Yeah, but they sure did a hell of a lot to make you think maybe he wouldn't, so good on them.
Hey. No, why not try at least?
Right.
You know we're going to go this way, but we'll make it think we're not.
Well, how was your day today then?
Bloody fretful. Lots of, family is sick, so I had to do some errands for them, along with shoveling the, I think now 5 inches of snow that are on the ground here.
Dang.
So, all in all, relatively uneventful.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure you're wondering what snow is, Mr. Florida man.
No, I know what snow is. Living in Dallas for many years, and I also had to take ski trips to Vail, Colorado every year when I was young, so I skied in plenty of snow.
So, like I said, this you could almost call this the special Valentine Losers edition of Wrestling Unwrapped.
Yeah, exactly.
And Mr. Broadhurst has said he will try to call in, but we don't know if that's going to happen. So, please, folks, don't just pause and delete the show immediately. He may be able to be on the show for at least a little bit, okay? Give us a chance.
Yes. You big Harry fans, you will be placated at some point here, hopefully.
Hopefully. So, alrighty, I think, considering the fact that we have, let's see here, 4, 5, 6, 8 matches to get through, including 2 huge ones here, the main event, Stone Cold Steve Austin puts his WrestleMania title shot on the line to get a shot at the boss, Mr. McMahon, in a steel cage match with every guarantee under the sun being made for this match. I'm trying to remember everything. So, in McMahon's case, no corporate interference, and if there is any, they'll be fired on the spot. And in Austin's case, it was he would beat McMahon up and down every side of the cage, and there would be bloodshed, and it would not be his. So 4 guarantees. We got to see how many are actually met. But we can't also forget the other quite gruesome match in The Rock going against the World Wrestling Federation champion Mankind in a last man standing match, what was promised to be the final chapter of their extremely violent feud that included one of the most gruesome matches of all time in the I Quit match at the Royal Rumble 1 month prior, and a really goofy empty arena match just a couple weeks prior during halftime heat. So it's essentially a double main event, and I think it's about time that we kind of have to get going here. I'm not going to do the quick results just because I can't do them with the finesse that Harry does them. I'll give him that. So how about we just get right into it, Sean?
Yeah, why not? This pay-per-view is pretty old, so if you don't know the results by now, you'll know them when we talk about them through the matches anyway. So
Exactly. So this should be mighty interesting, and we're going to kick things off here. A really weird-ass match. And that is Goldust against Blue Dust.
Yeah. You know what?
Yeah.
That's about as much as you could say. Like it's the Blue Meanie. If you don't, aren't familiar with this time in WWF, and he is totally dressed up as, basically a blue version of Goldust with the robe and all that stuff. It's funny. He actually cost Goldust. He gave Gilbert his first ever win in the company at that time because he caused Goldust to lose for distracting him. And really, this match was it's a total squash, and it's not even an entertaining one. It's just kind of, eh.
Yeah, this is kind of a mighty interesting match, but interesting for all of the wrong reasons. And yeah, it's essentially like a 4-minute squash to the point that it almost makes you wonder, why didn't they just do this on Raw?
Yeah, and it's like, what, Blue Dust doesn't even get, his offense is like trying to work on Goldust's leg for like about 30 seconds, and that's the extent of his offense.
And I think the only other thing he got was him missing the moonsault.
Yes.
So, it was just, this was completely one-sided and not even worth how much time we're giving it.
Exactly.
So,
if you want to watch Blue Meanie work, just go watch some ECW DVDs.
Yeah. That's pretty much all that can be said about this. So we're just pretty much going to skip right over that. So our second match, though, I think warrants a bit of time, and that is for it's never actually stated, but it's for the vacant WWF Hardcore Championship, and it's Al Snow, who believes, actually rightly, that he should be the champion since Road Dogg was injured the night before on Raw Saturday Night, which I also find extremely odd. Why was Raw Saturday Night a thing?
Did they eventually do away with the Shotgun name or something? Is that what happened?
As far as I know, the Shotgun name went well into 2000. So I don't know if maybe this was a USA special, like a Road to WrestleMania kind of thing. Just with a
maybe
different
that's
name,
what it
or
was.
what? Because this seemed like a relatively one-time thing, but it's not important in reality. And Al Snow facing off against Bob Holly, not yet hardcore, but he's past Sparky Plug. So this, they don't spend much time in the ring. And it essentially is a typical hardcore match for the time, which is going all around the arena, using everything in sight, which I believe included a chair, a ring bell, a cooler, floor tiles, which was really weird, and one really odd thing, considering, they're at the pyramid, and the pyramid is right on the banks, they eventually use the Mississippi River.
Yes.
Which, reminder folks, it's Valentine's Day, February. And Michael Cole, which we'll get to him a little later, kept making mention about the fact that water is cold. And it was, I think, I checked the weather, I think it was only about 30 degrees in Memphis that day. So it's a very cold night, and they're fighting in the Mississippi River.
Yeah, that, I felt bad for those guys. I mean, at least they had, shirts on to help them a little bit. But both of them were in shorts, so their legs are freezing at that point. Just, and poor Al Snow, he had to take a lot of the water offense here.
Yeah, and not only that, Holly didn't have a shirt on.
Oh, no, Holly didn't have a shirt on, that's right.
So,
I mean, this match was fun, though. It was, for it being the time where, like you said, that you kind of just, they walked around backstage, found stuff to hit each other with, and it kind of went on and on. They kept the action going, which is kind of something that, we'll talk about later with the Last Man Standing match, too, is sort of sometimes a lost art when you have these, where sometimes you'll go from spot to spot and it's not very entertaining at all. It's very bland. This one was fun, and then when you get the river part, it's just kind of like, holy crap, they're really fighting in a river. What the hell? And the pin actually happens in the river too, which is even the crazier part, because now, they'll just all make you come back to the ring. They hardly ever have one of those Falls Count Anywhere matches. So.
Yeah, that was I think out of anything, I found that to be the weirdest part of it, was the fact that the referee, I believe it was Tim White was the referee, didn't bother taking the belt with. So after Pop Holly wins, he has to launch his ass from the banks of the Mississippi River all the way back to the ring.
Yeah, where they could have just had him hold the title out there. That seems like a bunch of wasted time.
Exactly, and the crowd was watching on the screen, so they knew that the match had ended, and you could definitely tell that there were members of the crowd outside. So I don't think it would have mattered if he had been given the belt right then and there, on the things, after, for those that may not have seen it, Bob Holly pins Al Snow in essentially like a tube of fencing, wire fencing, and uses that to keep his shoulders down. And yeah, I mean, it was definitely a way to do that. The thing that bugged me the most about this, was Michael Cole's constant use of cup of coffee. I don't know if you got this, but he kept mentioning that Bob Holly had a cup of coffee as the Intercontinental Champion, a cup of coffee as the Tag Team Champion. Michael Cole, you're not Randy Savage. Figure out something else to say.
Yeah, I know. That's, you'd think, that being his job, a journalist and everything, he would have other words to say other than cup of coffee. I mean, you could just say a short rain, anything, just anything but a cup of coffee. I mean, or just a cup of something else besides coffee. That would work too.
But it was just, why use those specific words? It was really weird, and I don't know why it bugged me. Then again, look who's saying it. That's probably why it bugged the hell out of me. But
but we're also talking about young Michael Cole here. He's obviously still rather... I mean, he had to carry the load for a lot of this year. So, because of JR having the Bell's palsy and everything. But you can definitely tell he's not as polished as the Michael Cole we hear all the time, even though you can still... It's funny because you'll still hear some of the Michael Cole isms at times in the show.
And I kind of laugh at all of the people who complain about Michael Cole's commentary now. No, he's not great, but I dare anyone at all, to go back to 99, late 98, when he took over from JR for that short time, and tell me that today's Michael Cole is not 100 times better than the Michael Cole of the late 90s. I dare anybody to try and say that. They can't.
If you do, you're in total nostalgia mode and you need to watch this show.
Yeah. And you're drunk or something.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, I'm kind of going to give something away, but I'm going to be making more mentions of Michael Cole throughout the rest of this show too. Trust me.
Oh Lord. That means he will probably turning us off right now at the mention of Michael Cole.
Well, no, because we're complaining about it.
True. But still, some people, you say the word Michael Cole, they're like, oh my god, I'm not watching that.
But Bob Holly ends up winning, and shortly after this, he would become Hardcore Holly. And they would continue battling with Al Snow for the Hardcore title. Eventually, I believe Bob Holly loses it at one point and ends up winning it back at WrestleMania 15 in a really goofy hardcore match that also features Billy Gunn. So, whatever. Speaking of weird matches, our next one.
Yeah.
In the official case of why was this booked, it's the corporate team's head of security, the Big Boss, facing off against the Ministry of Darkness's Midian. Eye and all, which I think that was a real eye, by the way.
Yeah, looked like it.
And so Vince McMahon goes to great lengths in order to beat his opponents in the late 90s, folks. Just trust us on that.
Yeah.
So, it's the heel corporation and their guy, Big Boss Man, versus the heel ministry and their guy, Midian.
Yes, that... Did anybody think of anything when they... I mean, I know, heels were cool during this time and everything, but not every single one works. It's just, you get boring chants, and this match was very boring.
Oh, God.
You get boring chants, you get Boss Man sucks, and Boss Man yelling at the crowd to kiss his ass. Why? There's just nothing entertaining. It's just a bunch of beating the guy down, and I think Midian might pull off a sort of German suplex at one point. And
but he barely gets him over.
Yeah, exactly. He actually even goes to his side, which is weird.
Yeah, it was like watching Brock Lesnar try to German suplex Big Show. It was that kind of a thing. Yeah, this I mean, this match to me seemed like, let's just get through the match to get to everything else.
Yep, exactly.
Because
this really could have used the Attitude Era, let's do this really fast thing.
Because that's pretty much what this whole match was. It was get through the match, and I believe Boss Man wins via Boss Man Slam, and then almost immediately after, the Ministry comes down and beats the high holy hell out of them.
Right.
It was like, why didn't you just have the Ministry come out after 30 seconds? Why did you do the entire match? And
because they still had to waste time on the show.
Yeah. But, I mean, the pay-per-view goes 2 hours, 50 minutes, and this was only like a 5-minute match.
Oh, trust me, it felt longer than that. That's the problem. It feels like it's long as hell, too.
I mean, it's just, it's yikes. And then, in the end, like I said, Boss Man gets dragged out by the Ministry, and The Undertaker makes his only appearance of the night, which drives me nuts. Why was The Undertaker not booked on this show? I get that it was, trying to build up to the Hell in a Cell match that would occur 1 month later, but why was he not booked on this show? Everybody else was.
I guess they really wanted to save that Boss Man Undertaker match for later.
Yeah. By the way, I just looked it up. The match goes 6:19, bell to bell.
It felt like it went about at least 10 minutes or more, just from the please get off my screen.
Yeah. this is the second shortest match of the show.
Which is saying a lot because most of the matches are sort of long.
Yeah.
So.
I think everything from here on goes at least 10 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
But we shall find out. So, yeah, this entire match was pretty much just get through the match so that we can continue the storyline booking towards the worst Hell in a Cell of all time.
God. If you've never seen that match, don't worry about watching it.
Yeah. The ones that they would do on Raw were better than that match.
Yes. Completely agree on that.
Yeah. But here, we'll put it this way, folks. That Hell in a Cell, what was it? I'm trying to remember now. I believe that Hell in a Cell match is the only one not included on the Hell in a Cell DVD set.
Yeah, I think actually you're right. That might be the. There might have been another one, and I think it might have been for. Was it Benoit reasons or?
No, the only ones I know. I'm actually looking at it. So they have every Hell in a Cell match up to the Undertaker Batista one, which was in 2007. They have everyone from the beginning to that, except for the WrestleMania 15 one, probably because it's so god-awful, and the Kennel from Hell.
Okay, yeah. Which I think most people forget that was actually a Hell in a Cell match.
That was a Hell in a Cell and a cage match combined, pretty much. But, so, yeah. That tells you how bad that match is. That's not even included.
Yep, so there you go. You do not need to watch that match. But, moving along.
Yeah, swiftly. For the Tag Team Championships, I think it's Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett, the champions, I think, versus Mark Henry and D'Lo Brown.
Yes, they are the champions, yes.
Okay. Mark Henry and D'Lo Brown, wow, why am I having so much trouble saying that? Are coming to the ring by Ivory, and of course Jeff and Owen have Deborah with her. Ivory has made the promise that if Deborah tries to stick her nose in it, she's going to take all of her clothes off.
Woo!
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So of course, you get, we'll go in the grand scheme of things, plus entrances and exits and everything. You get 15 minutes of Jerry Lawler being his, self, and essentially just wanting Deborah to stick her nose in the match. Gee, I wonder why.
That's fine. That works for the time. This was actually good. Owen is. They had some nice double team moves in there with Owen and Jeff. D'Lo. D'Lo was actually one of the more underrated guys on the roster at this point. Mark Henry was still kind of finding himself. Mark Henry is very young. He wasn't very good yet.
I'm trying to think. I think at this point he would only be about 2 years in.
Yeah, exactly. Because 96 would have been when he had the... was it 96 or 92 whenever he was in the Olympics? I think it was 96. And, yeah, so he came in 97, right? So...
I think it goes about that. I know it was the 96 Atlanta games where he finished almost dead last anyway.
Right.
And he wouldn't become the legitimate world's strongest man, which a lot of people don't realize. That legitimately was the world's strongest man winning the Arnold Classic, but I think that didn't occur until 2000 or 2001.
Right. And Well, wait, didn't he have one where he was like third in some kind of weightlifting or whatever?
Maybe?
Or is that one of those like WWE says that he is, but he wasn't? I
I'm
mean,
not 100% certain about that.
wow. Okay. Let's see.
But yeah, the only one that I know for certain was he won an Arnold Classic, which gave him a legitimate cause to be called the world's strongest man. That's the one that I know for certain. So, lost my train of thought. So, once again, it's Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart before, Jeff Jarrett burned all those bridges and everything. This actually, like you said, D'Lo Brown being quite an underrated wrestler, this actually was a pretty good match for the most part. Particularly when D'Lo was in there, and to me, I thought the best matchup was D'Lo versus Owen. Owen being by this point the Black Heart, and it's time for a change and things like that, and they're only 3 months, 4 months away from his tragic accident, and we're not even. I don't even want to make light or anything like that. But he was still, a very, very good wrestler at this point, and pretty much his entire time, he would be a very good wrestler. Whether, politics played a part, or, if there was still bitterness towards Owen for everything that happened a year and a half prior in '97, is there any specific reason why he was never the WWF champion? I don't think we'll ever know. I don't think we'll ever know the full story there. Because to me, I've always thought Owen was better than Bret, personally. That's strictly my opinion, and I'm not going to try and force it on anybody. But I just think that D'Lo and Owen had a very good set of matchups here. Anytime that they were in the ring together. And Jeff's a very good wrestler, too. So, but unfortunately, I think this was a case where D'Lo was actually dragged down in more ways than one, with his tag partner.
Actually, Mark Henry debuted on the March 11th, 96 episode of Monday Night Raw. So.
Oh, wow.
He was there. Yeah, he would be there like 20 years once he gets to WrestleMania. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I mean, with the Owen thing, I mean, I think he could have, had he continued living. Obviously, you never know if he would have gotten one of those. Because Kane got one, Mark Henry got one. You would have wondered if Owen would have got one of those company man title runs, if he would have still been in WWE. In the 2000s. I definitely agree with you. He deserved to be a champion at one point, but it's just like Bret's shadow was pretty big, and you can say he was better than Bret athletically. He was definitely better than him, I think, microphone wise. At least he showed a lot more intensity anyway when he did his promos. But I don't know, to say that he deserved the things over Bret, that's kind of difficult,
Yeah, I think that's part of it for me, is the fact that I find Bret super boring. Always have, always will. So I think that's kind of, and then part of that is the mic work. So I think that's where I've always preferred Owen, is because I always thought Owen was better on the mic. But right. Like I said, that's kind of a, that's a personal opinion.
Yeah, because Bret gets really good like during this time when he's doing the heel character where he's loved in Canada but hated here. Like that's when that's his best promo work to me, is right before he leaves.
Yeah. So, but I think it was getting back to this match. I think I was kind of expecting how it was going to go, And what did you know it? That's pretty much how it goes, where just the ending to this is called Holy Chaos, where Deborah tries to interfere. Ivory tries gently, politely asks Deborah to leave, which I found really weird. So just pull her off the damn stairs.
I think Ivory was more worried about, like, oh, if I pull her and she's in heels or whatever, is she going to, like, fall backwards or hurt herself, so...
Yeah. Which is the exact point I was about to make, is I didn't notice Deborah may have been in heels, which is why Ivory politely asks her to get down. So then D'Lo goes to separate those two, and my question is, where was the ref? Because was the ref taken out, or...
No, I think he was just distracted with the match, you know.
Yeah, because then Owen sneaks in with the... I'm trying to remember the order of this. Is it Owen sneaks in with the guitar? Yeah,
Yes.
Because Jeff would hit the... Okay, so Owen sneaks back into the ring with the guitar and hits Mark Henry in the knee, which, very smart, to which Jeff then puts the figure 4 on and causes Mark Henry to tap out. So Jeff and Owen retain, and then Ivory kind of takes Deborah's top off. Or I should say her shirt. Not her top, not her bra.
Exactly, because the shirt doesn't even, like, I think it reveals, like, half the bra or something like that.
Yeah, and you don't see anything from the front. You see a lot from behind, nothing to the front.
Which is really weird for that time. I think it might have been after all that. They might have been later on in this year, and especially in 2000, where they really get heavy with that kind of stuff. May not have been here yet.
Well, I'm trying to think. Well, no, because Sable...
Oh, that's right. Well, Sable...
I was about to say, was the fully loaded bikini contest in 98 or 99? I think 98.
Well, didn't, like, Sable, like, sue McMahon or something like that, or threaten to sue him?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because at this point, Sable was still there because she defends the women's championship a month later at WrestleMania.
Right.
So, but yeah, I think by this point, they were really starting to go, because by this point, like we said, you had the fully loaded bikini contest, and you know you're gearing up to bring in Miss Kitty, and once Miss Kitty comes in, then you have the Armageddon '99 incident and Royal Rumble 2000, with her having the bubble wrap bikini. So by this point, though, they're getting there, or they're there. I would even say they're there.
Right.
So
you don't get the payoff to that, which there might have been some teenagers hoping that would happen, but
no kidding.
Other than that, you got some good action. Most of all, wasn't anything like great, but some good stuff.
It's like, take out the final, let's say, 1 minute of this match, and it's actually a very, very good match. But the last minute with the chaos, chicanery, and everything kind of spoils it in the end. And then, like you said, you don't get the payoff because you don't see Deborah's anything. So, but I mean, overall, it wasn't a terrible match by any means.
No, yeah, because even Jarrett doesn't. A lot of times Jarrett would kind of get in his own way sometimes. He did really well. Owen was the one that kind of, obviously did a lot of the work, and then D'Lo, Mark Henry appeared to do the Power Man stuff, but,
Like we said, Jeff Jarrett broke 6,000 guitars, never drew a dime. I had to get that one in, and I did.
Right, unless you're Vince Russo, then you somehow believe that he did.
In that case, he was the chosen one. Moving on. Time for Family Feud. With a really weird twist. The next contest is Val Venus taking on Ken Shamrock for the Intercontinental. No. Yeah. For the
Yes.
Intercontinental Championship, I was thinking European, but no. So it's Val Venus versus Ken Shamrock for the Intercontinental Championship with, surprise, surprise, because, sure, special guest referee Billy Gunn, and Val Venus is accompanied to the ring by Ryan Shamrock. Yes, in kayfabe terms, that Shamrock, Ken Shamrock's sister.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, really good players, but why?
Well, Ryan Shamrock was friggin' hot at the time.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think the storyline worked for what Shamrock was, which was, oh my God, he's the guy that's gonna go nuts and friggin' kill you and put the ankle lock in and like break your ankle and do all this stuff. I mean, I think the storyline worked. Just the match was just kind of there. And these are two guys that are actually, they're good. They're good in the ring. It just kind of felt like them doing stuff. And it was never, other than the time where you have Ryan sort of slap Shamrock, because it's not one of those, definitive Stephanie slaps. It's like one of those, oh, let's just slap him. Psh, okay, whatever. And we move along.
Well. There's more to that one, but I'll let you finish your point.
Oh, go ahead. What?
Well, I was just gonna ask if you had finished your point, because I was gonna bring that slap up, considering the fact that Ken Shamrock asked for it very loudly.
Oh, wow. Was it one of those like it felt like in character? I didn't even hear it. Was it one of those like felt like in character, or was he just kind of sort of saying "slap me"? Like.
So okay, so to set the scene for the listeners, Shamrock goes into his zone, which is ever famous. Put the ankle lock on Val Venus. Val's scraping and clawing and trying to get to the rope, and Ryan ends up helping Val get to the rope, so it gets broken. To which Ken then goes outside to admonish Ryan. He starts yelling at her, "What are you doing? Blood's thicker than water. What are you doing?" And then very faintly you hear, "Slap me." To which she, as Sean just put, faintly slaps him. But if you don't even have to like really focus in on it. He actually says it loud enough. He wasn't shouting it, but he was like in a regular conversation voice. You could hear him clear as day just go, "Slap me."
Wow, y'all didn't plan this beforehand? That he's just...
Yeah, it's like, okay. I mean, I get that Ryan was never really anything in the wrestling business, but you couldn't have found another way. You couldn't have said, "Hey, after I'm done slap," you couldn't have been backstage saying, "Hey, after I'm done yelling at you, give me a slap," or something. You had to actually tell her immediately.
Maybe they did and she just forgot.
I mean, who knows? Because, like you said, it's just clear as day, and it sounded like Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler were actually trying to not laugh during this time. Because you could hear Michael Cole kind of try and stifle back laugh when he's like, "Oh my God, Brian just slapped Ken," kind of thing.
Yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere. He's like, "Oh, wait, he slapped her. What the hell?"
Yeah, other way around. She slapped him.
Or, well, yeah, it was like one of those where you could definitely tell he was almost like, "Oh, I need to mention this. Oh, crap, let me get all excited about it."
Yeah.
What did you think about the match? I know, and then Billy Gunn getting involved and all that stuff at the end, too, because he goes and attacks him. Shamrock does, basically giving Val Venus the title.
Yeah. I mean, put this with a regular referee, and, well, nothing to write home about. This was actually a pretty decent match. I think, much like you think with D'Lo Brown, I think Val Venus was actually quite underrated. I thought he was a very good wrestler. And, Ken Shamrock has had, between UFC, Bellator, WWE, TNA, and everything. You know, he's had quite a very good career, and a lot of people know him to be a very good wrestler. I didn't think the match was actually that bad. You know, it did seem like there were a couple awkward points where it was, you know, let's try and smash the storyline in here. But the actual wrestling aspect of it, they worked very well with each other, I thought. And you know, the addition of Billy Gunn as the referee, because reasons, apparently, you know, I think the official reason that they gave was Earl Hebner had washed his hands of this match, and no referee wanted to do it because
Shamrock was crazy.
At that point, and had been attacking referees, not just his opponents, but also the referees themselves.
Well, that makes total sense. And it's also because Billy Gunn was the only outlaw that wasn't doing anything, or the only member of DX that wasn't doing anything on the show or something. That's why he...
Which is... Michael Cole said that, but that was a lie.
Yeah, because Road Dogg's not here either.
Exactly. Road Dogg wasn't on the show at all. Because he was injured. Which I believe was a legitimate injury.
Well, I think that's what he meant. Like, okay, everybody knows Road Dogg's injured at this point, so technically the only one that's part of DX that's physically able is Billy Gunn, so...
Yeah. You know, but it was his wording. He said he's the only member of DX not doing anything tonight. Those were his exact words. I'm like, pretty sure Road Dogg's not doing anything tonight here. But that's Michael Cole for you.
Yep.
You know, I didn't think the match needed Val Venus. No, it didn't need Val Venus because he won the damn thing. I didn't think the match really needed Billy Gunn, and this whole point was to pretty much smash Billy Gunn into the storyline, and once again, 1 month later, Billy Gunn's going for the hardcore title, and Road Dogg smashed in for the Intercontinental title. So it was, you know, in the grand scheme of things, a completely unnecessary thing, and ended up being stupid in the end.
Right, but at the time, it kind of felt like it meant something because, okay, now you're obviously going to have a three-way, or it seems that way, and, you know, Ken Shamrock just cost Billy Gunn the title, and Billy Gunn also has history with Shamrock. They were going for the title the previous pay-per-view, so there's all of that in there. I mean, and to be fair, it's not like Billy Gunn got involved constantly. It was only a few times, you know. So.
Yeah. It's basically the only time he really made his presence, like, truly known with him slow counting everything.
Right.
You know, other than that, he actually surprisingly was pretty strict with enforcing the rules, surprisingly. You know, and it would just be because he, you know, was counting all the pins slow. That was it. And that would, you know, be obviously all the way right up to the end when, as you mentioned, Shamrock would start getting into it with Billy Gunn, and Val Venus would end up winning via a fast count, one of the fastest counts I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, he was like just bam, bam, bam. Okay, wow. Talk about machine gun count like, or something.
Yeah, it was just like 1, 2, 3. It was legitimately that quick. I mean, he might be up there with Shane McMahon, the fastest quick count you'll ever see.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with it. It just, overall, one of the, I guess you could say, one of the sort of better matches on the show work-wise, but it still felt like it was missing something to me at the end from the fact that other than like the crowd chanting at Shamrock, I felt like they didn't necessarily care too much. But it's so weird with these Attitude Era crowds sometimes. They can either really get into something or they just don't like the fact that the wrestling just went too long because they get overly conditioned to the fact that the matches are not going to last very long at all.
Yeah. Which, like we said, it's kind of a rare time here because a lot of these matches actually do go relatively long on this pay-per-view, as opposed to what was seemingly the norm at the time, where if it wasn't a title match or wasn't a feature match, i.e. Royal Rumble, it probably wasn't going to go more than 10 minutes.
Right.
So this pay-per-view is actually quite a change, as I am currently trying to look it up and see just how many were actually this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the Hardcore Championship match goes 2 seconds under 10 minutes. The tag title match was 9.5 minutes, and then after the tag title match, IC title was 16 minutes. The following tag match was just shy of 15 minutes. Mankind and The Rock was over 20 minutes, and, well, we'll go for the timing with the cage match.
Yeah. That cage match that...
Yeah, if you're going bell to bell, it only lasts 8 minutes. If you're going the entirety of the physicality between them, you're going closer to 20.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that.
Somehow it felt even longer.
Yeah, that's not even including the actual chase around the damn ring and things like that.
So moving on to this tag match with Triple H and X-Pac against China and Kane, as China had split from DX at this point and joined the corporation, and you have Shane McMahon at ringside freaking hollering. Just, I mean, he's not obviously trying to be the most gifted person on commentary, but I think I laughed quite a few times at Shane McMahon, just the way he does it.
I'll put it this way. This wasn't a bad match, but the best part of it was Shane McMahon.
Yes.
But at the same time, this was kind of two storylines mashed into one match. Because you had the issues with X-Pac and Shane over the European title, and then you also had China versus DX, and Kane kind of fits in there because Kane had issues before, and I'm trying to remember if he had nearly joined DX or was invited to, but the McMahon said no, or there's something in there, but Kane also fits in. But then you also had the factor of, as was very apparent in this match, that Kane was actually attracted to China.
Right.
So, and I nearly snapped off at Michael Cole for something, but he was right. He said that this was the first time that females were going to be facing off against males in a match in the WWF, which he ended up apparently not counting the Royal Rumble because China was number 30, but technically he's right because any of the mixed tag matches that had happened before always had to be women against women and men against men. This was essentially the first time in a normal match circumstance. I won't count the Royal Rumble in that case because that's not a normal match. But this was the first time that you had a woman facing off with the men, to my knowledge.
Yeah, an intergender match, which is all the rage now if you go on the Indies or Lucha Underground or whatever. But it's kind of funny how times have changed. It became something you see a lot with China or perhaps some of the other divas as it went along, but now it's like they'll never do it. So
no, too many sponsors, but that's the WWE's business practices, not ours. And quite frankly, Sean, you and I are not billionaires, so
no. I mean, I thought overall they told the story well with China and Triple H. I mean, they built to that moment where it was Triple H and China in the ring, and China didn't want to tag Kane because she wanted a piece of Triple H. You had the stuff with X-Pac and Shane, and X-Pac freaking knocks Shane out at one point off the commentary, kicks him in the face. And then Michael Cole's like, how you feeling? He's like, how do you think I'm feeling? I just got kicked in the face.
Shane, to his credit, when he was on the mic, very quick-witted, very sharp, very smart, and at times very funny.
And it was so funny because he's just like a big fan, just like back there going, "Go Kane, beat him up, Kane,
Yeah.
come on, Giants."
Exactly. But and obviously in the end, once again, all hell breaks loose. So Shane ends up going after X-Pac and chases him all the way forces X-Pac to chase him all the way back. And Kane was taken out via the stairs. So we're ready to get that one-on-one face-off with Triple H and China. And no. Lol, no. It was, a kick to the Triple H is about to go for the pedigree, and Kane ends up getting him for a chokeslam and drags China's carcass on top of Triple H, and China and Kane end up winning in the end. And the one thing I didn't like about this was during the promo that Triple H cut immediately before the match, when he says, "Come out here and get your ass kicked, you big jacked up bitch." Were they still dating at this point?
Yes, because the stuff with Stephanie isn't till later in '99. So
Yeah, because that would be Armageddon '99 that they would end up getting together on screen. So it would be until early 2000.
well, I mean, he's got to play his character, so
Yeah, I'm just surprised that he would say that. Like, go that far with it. And, I wonder, did she get pissed at him, or did he clear it with her before to go
I'm
that
sure
far?
they cleared it. Besides, I mean, China doesn't seem like the type that would get very offended by just calling her name. I don't know.
Who knows? And the other thing I noticed about this match also is how many references in the crowd from signs that reference China being a man.
This was after the period where she did not look so much like a man, unlike when she first came in, where she really looked terrible. This is after the surgery and all that. But there's at that point you see any kind of woman that looks like that, you're gonna have people
A lot
put
of
that in the crowd. I mean, this is they used to chant "Shawn is gay" at Shawn Michaels all the time.
Yeah.
It's kind of the way it was back then.
The Attitude Era was the hottest time in wrestling, but there are certain times and certain things that make me glad that it doesn't exist anymore.
Yes, the total not PC era.
Yeah. And there are certain things, granted, yes, China was a very masculine female, but I don't know. Hell, I was 8 at that time, and even like when I was a teenager, which would pretty much be like the ruthless aggression era, I really never did like man-on-woman violence, and that's just, like I said, a personal thing. So I'm glad in this case that they didn't really go through with it, and I don't think they ever really would for a while still. I know.
Yeah, not until the Dudleys came in.
Pretty much. And yeah, that would probably be about the first time that they would really go through with everything. I'm trying to think, well, maybe later in the year when it's Triple H versus China for the #1 contendership for the title. But other than that, yeah, it wouldn't be until the Dudleys come in later in the year.
Yeah, well, and then you had the Sable and Mero stuff at times.
That was Sable beating the hell out of Mero.
Yeah, well, it's still violence. I mean, just because it's the woman against the man doesn't make it okay,
Oh, true.
But still, I thought that this was well done for it was. I thought the finish was the right one because you still want to keep building this tension between the two. I think if you would have had Triple H beat China already, it kind of sours that of the whole wanting China to get beat, or the things that they can do later, like you said with the China and Triple H number one contenders match and all that. So
Yeah. But, I mean, it was what it was.
right.
Not a terrible match. I actually did think X-Pac and Kane worked really well against each other, but I think that having speed against strength is kind of a good matchup if it's done right, and I think they were always able to do it the correct way. Triple H,
I know people give
Triple
X-Pac
H.
a bunch of shit all the time, but he was a damn good worker.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say what you want about him having the go away heat and all that stuff, but you can't take away the wrestling part.
Yeah, very, very, very good in the ring. Like when he's all there, and you know you have the good X-Pac, he's very, very good.
Even in
So
even when he goes to TNA, he had quite a few that were decent. So
yeah,
yeah,
you know, and that was him not being all there.
right. Exactly.
Yes, I went there. Sorry.
Hey, it would have been okay with the times to like totally
Yeah.
go there, I guess.
Plus it's
So
TNA, so everything's okay there.
so we
Moving on.
moving on to the what is this the last man standing now that we're at?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
so they did a great job of telling you the whole story with this beforehand. So if you're just watching this pay-per-view and it's been a long time since you watched any of the other stuff that happened before this, they would do a great job of recapping it for you. They set the stage of this big-time match that's happening the last time for the title, and then they proceed to have a draw.
well, real quick, yeah, they do have the video package mentioning the fact that this was the fourth consecutive pay-per-view, and if you want to include the halftime for the Super Bowl show, the fifth major show that these two had faced off at. You had the 1-year anniversary of the Montreal Screwjob in the finals of the Deadly Games tournament at Survivor Series. Then you had Mankind beating Rock, but since Rock did not say I quit and Rock did not tap out, Rock kept the belt. Then you had, you know, what I referenced earlier is probably one of the most gruesome matches in WWF history in the Royal Rumble I Quit match. Then you had halftime heat, which was the empty arena, and you know they like you said, they kept mentioning there must be, and that was something that they had mentioned throughout the whole damn night. There must be a winner. This is the final chapter. The winner goes to WrestleMania. And
Yeah,
well,
we do the cop out draw, which doesn't make any sense to me because you already had this title switched hands so many different times, just even on Raw too, and
yeah,
you've had Mankind get beat, so him getting beat again would not have been the biggest deal in the world. I don't see why this needed to happen at all. I know they were still kind of I don't know that they were totally set on the Stone Cold Rock at WrestleMania at this point because, you know, Shawn Michaels was still going around lobbying for it to be Mankind.
yeah.
And, you know, then they decided on the Mankind as a special referee or whatever. But just this is, I mean, the match was really good, though. I really enjoyed it. Again, it's one of these where yes, you are going like spot to spot, whatever, but this one felt more. You had you know a lot of the Rock sitting at the commentary table talking, doing his thing, and then you know Mankind kind of gets better of him, and then they do the spot where he flips him over and his leg hits the ring bell, and that was kind of the big turning point because then he goes after the leg, but.
I mean,
I really enjoyed this.
yeah, for the overall match itself, it was not anywhere near as uncomfortable by the end as their previous pay-per-view match. But at the same time, they still really did not pull any punches. You mentioned the backflip when Mankind has Rock set up for a pile driver, and as you said, Rock backflips or back body drops Mankind, and not only did his leg hit the timekeeper table or the ring bell, but his head actually does hit the commentary table.
Yeah.
So,
and not to mention the elbow that he does on Rock into the big ass monitors on the outside. Like, I'm sure that didn't feel good.
Oh God, no. And then you had at one point, I believe Mankind was outside of the ring and the refs counting, and The Rock pretty much just dumps, a set of steel stairs over the top rope and just completely crushes Mankind.
Yeah, that was right after that spot with the leg hitting the table there. He just goes, okay, let me just add some extra in here and throw the steps on your shoulder.
Having regard for your opponent, nah, screw that, funk. But like I said, to me, this never at any point seemed to get as risque and as dangerous as, the 13 consecutive headshots with a chair that they had 1 month prior. So, kudos to them, and this was pretty much the first case of, Mick Foley being used to get somebody else over, which they would repeat it almost exactly 1 year later with Triple H, and finally kind of making Triple H into the guy. This was the final step for The Rock becoming the guy. And as you mentioned, though, after everything that they had put each other through, including Mankind going for Mr. Elbow, which, okay, I'll give Michael Cole credit for that one. That was funny. And they put everything in, but it was like, of all the things to cause a double count out, a double chair shot.
Well, they'd already hit each other and so much before.
It still seemed weird to me. It seemed like they could have done something more. Maybe have it be like a back suplex from the Spanish announce table into the English announce table, or vice versa. They both take a nasty fall, and neither of them get up. Granted, you couldn't do that considering what would happen with the next match, but something bigger than just them connecting with a chair shot to each other at the same time, which they surprisingly timed very well. I did laugh though at The Rock nearly ending up flying out of the ring.
Yeah, it's just Lord. Well, when The Rock oversells,
Oh, of course. But, by no means was this a bad match. This was actually a very, very good match. But this was, as you said, this was essentially a spot to spot to spot to spot match with, at least in this case, they were able to give something in between everything, which I think was kind of the main point here. They were able to at least give you something and not have to constantly just walk from spot to spot.
Right. I mean, because they know each other so well and they've had so many matches with each other. And the fact that, they had to kind of keep outdoing each other in these big hardcore matches. So at one point, some of these were going to not measure up to the same things that we saw at Royal Rumble, we saw at Halftime Heat or whatever. And part of that, too, is, The Rock going in, had already beat up Mankind, attacked him, and I think they said something about, was it Cole that said he had a dislocated knee or something like that? Before Rock even hit him on Halftime Heat, and then when they had the spot with the ring bell thing, it was just kind of like, okay, we're just cementing further that it's going to be hard for Mankind to get up anyway. So.
Yeah. So, but I mean, this was still a very brutal match, but compared to previous matches, this seemed rather tame. But when you have the kind of previous matches that they had, almost anything's going to seem tame, unless you're, lighting 9 chairs and 6 tables on fire and sending one person through that.
Yeah, I think I'd be okay with not seeing that.
Me either. So, but as we mentioned, though, you would have the cop-out draw. So much for Final Chapter. And it would lead to, I believe, the very next night would be a ladder match then between Mankind and The Rock for the championship. And, somebody interferes. And that somebody hasn't quite made his debut yet on this show.
Yeah, and it's just...
hang on, it's been 17 years. Paul White interferes and costs Mankind a damn match. That would lead to their match for the referee spot for the championship at WrestleMania.
Exactly.
So that's what that would end up being, and The Rock would end up going on to WrestleMania 15 as the champion. But now the $1 million question becomes, who does he face?
We all kind of need that. Not...
Well, yeah, just quiet. Give me this one, Demi. Because it's our main event, and it is a steel cage match in which Stone Cold Steve Austin puts his WrestleMania title shot on the line to get one final crack at the boss, at Vince McMahon, at Mr. McMahon. If Austin loses, he forfeits his WrestleMania title shot. If Vince loses, who knows? Actually, we would end up not getting anything out of that.
Probably he would have just made somebody else the contender.
Probably. But we'll never know. I wonder why. And not only that, Vince McMahon himself has barred all corporate members from interfering in the match, and if they would be fired on the spot. Boy, did they get around that one. Anyway, you mentioned, the crowd kind of being on and off for pretty much the entire night. To me, the crowd was on for this whole match because holy crap, they were hot. And if there was ever a moment that you needed proof that Steve Austin was the hottest superstar and the most popular superstar possibly in the world at that time, just look at this match, or just look at the crowd during this match. The minute the glass shatters, they just explode. With a thunderous ovation welcoming Stone Cold to the ring. And Stone Cold hadn't done anything except make an appearance on Heat ahead of the show. But since then, since the pay-per-view had started, he, to my knowledge, had not made any appearances, and he just got a huge welcome.
Yep. And it's just... Well, I mean, they were just... It's insane how... But that shows how much, WWE knew that, WCW was big at this point. And that having him appear here would be a big deal. And just... I mean, and I think that just added to it. Like, they were already so hot... And Vince, so many times Stone Cold could have won if he would have just went down and stopped, going into Vince's like, oh, I'm going to just throw the double bird out there. And, you're going to just stop from winning to, he really could have just stepped down, won, and still gone back in the cage,
In reality, Austin won this match 4 times.
Yeah, because he won...
Austin won the damn thing 4 times. The first time being after what was, at the time, the worst injury Vince McMahon would ever see when he broke his ass. on the Spanish announce table, but that wasn't good enough. So then he gets him into the cage, beats the hell out of him, starts walking down the stairs, and slips the bird, comes back in, so that's 2, then beats the hell out of him some more, starts climbing over the top of the cage, then flips the double bird, so that's 3, and then the interference spot, cage gives way, and he climbs down, 4. Granted, that's the extreme Cliff Notes version of it, because if you look on Wikipedia, and because it's only match times and it's not, the secret to world peace or trying to write a 20-page history exam or history paper, I look at Wikipedia for match times. The official match time for this match is less than 8 minutes. Because all of the chicanery, the chasing around the cage, the climbing up the cage, Vince going through the table, and all of this stuff happens with no bell. And it isn't until after Steve Austin gets McMahon off of the stretcher and throws him into the cage and finally walks in that the bell finally rings, and then 8 minutes later, it's over. Mind you, this entire segment is probably closer to a half hour.
Yeah.
But it was weird. It was like they were trying to stretch it as far as they could, but they knew that, one of the people in this ring was severely limited in his expertise in the ring. So they kind of went around and said, okay, how can we cover this?
Right. And but give Vince a lot of credit for taking that spot. To go through the commentator's table the way he did, and it wasn't a soft landing or anything, like you said. He broke his tailbone. Just not every promoter would take that bump,
Yeah. Especially not every promoter would take that bump on a big pay-per-view.
Exactly. WrestleMania, sure. The 1 to 4 WrestleMania, not that big, not really that important. Oh, no. But
yeah.
Just, and I think you got to give. This is why that storyline works so well, because you never, if you're really into this, you never get bored, even though Stone Cold is going to win. They keep you captivated the whole time, I thought.
Yeah.
And it's really well done. It's like the height of the rivalry, so it's just all, we're supposed to get the final confrontation and Stone Cold, and then you finally get that, yes, now we know Stone Cold's going to WrestleMania or whatever. And so, they paid that off really well here.
Yeah, definitely. And unlike the previous match, in this case, you actually do get an outright winner. In probably one of the worst debuts for a wrestler ever. After the second time that Austin had come back into the cage after Vince flipped the double bird, then Austin goes for a stunner, I believe. I believe I have this timeline right. Austin hits a stunner and starts giving him a little lip service, as Michael Cole called it. And Paul White, the Giant from WCW, makes his debut from under the ring. My question is, how long was he under the ring? But that's neither here nor there. And ends up, throwing Austin into the cage, and then he decides to try and, pick Austin up and just fuck him straight into the cage, which he does. And the cage gives way. And Austin climbs down for the win, to which Vince McMahon is stuck wondering what the hell just happened. And how do you debut somebody this way? You're debuting a 7-foot wrestler who, is incredibly strong, and your Kevington debuts look like an idiot. It boggles my mind of how this could happen.
Well, Are you talking about the cage giving sway? Are you talking about?
Yeah, with the cage giving way.
I guess it's. I mean, that's weird because it's almost using the. This is before they get to the cage that we. What's weird is they had the Hell in a Cell that was done with the cage that we see now. This had like kind of a little bit of the old cage.
Yeah.
And it's just. I guess he's that powerful that he throws him in there so hard that. Oh my God, it broke. It's like the whole when the ring breaks with him and Brock on SmackDown. I guess they're kind of using
Yeah.
that same type of thing.
Yeah, but at the same time, that spot going through the cage or going through the ring doesn't have such high stakes.
But how many times do you see guys like just get thrown into that cage? I mean, like
Yeah.
in his defense, I mean he's just trying to hurt Austin, and the cage actually moves.
Yeah. See, I think it's not the fact that the spot happens. I think my biggest issue is the fact that this is how he debuts. Like, this is his debut. This is his first time. This is his
Yeah,
first
it's like a
impression.
big
And his,
what a goof.
yeah. And it's like his first impression to the crowd is, you're an idiot that doesn't know your own strength. I think that's what it is. If he had debuted, say, at the Rumble and has gotten, a chance to say that he didn't know his own strength but hadn't joined the corporation, and they had done this exact same spot, I don't think it would be such an issue. But it's the fact that it's his debut and this happens.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's got to be one of the worst debuts from a kayfabe perspective of, man, I really, really can't believe you just basically won in the match. Look how stupid you look. But
Yeah.
I think from just the fact that he debuted in such a big rivalry or whatever, and then he wound up being involved. He lost the match to. That's the thing. Like that sucked for a while for Big Show, and I think he never really got that moment because on WrestleMania 2000, he's in that Fatal 4, but he's the guy first gets eliminated. He kind of
Yeah.
always got the shaft at WrestleManias, pretty much.
Which is part of why, Cody Rhodes would make fun of him going into WrestleMania 28, I believe it was.
Right.
28 or 27, because of the fact that Big Show had almost always, found a way to mess up at the biggest show.
I think he always lost at WrestleMania, pretty much. Until he beat Cody for the IC title there. I think that was the whole.
Trying to think back, and I know he won at 22 with Kane in the tag title match.
Yeah, but I think like every time where he was kind of supposed to be put in like some kind of big position.
Yeah.
Yeah, he always lost or something, because he lost to Cena. He
lost the hardcore triple threat at WrestleMania 17.
That. But he couldn't even become the ref. Yeah, he lost to Undertaker. There's other ones that I can't think of right now.
Yeah, but any way you look at it, the big show is a big goof when it comes to the biggest show.
But you would think the opposite, because
the big show at the big show.
But if you think about it, Andre, he didn't. I mean, other than the bout, he did have the bout of oil at WrestleMania 2. But I mean, he lost to Hogan. The tournament, whatever, him and Hogan get double disqualified. I mean, so
yeah.
I guess that's just the way if you're that big. You could.
Apparently.
But
that's an almost scary thought if you think about it.
That's weird. Yeah, that's weird. So like, just don't be as big as Big Show and Andre. You won't get screwed that badly.
Yeah. So, but after all is said and done, and the cage is broken, and, you know, McMahon's ass is broken and everything, we essentially, officially have a main event right now of Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Mankind. Considering the fact that a draw means the champion keeps the belt. So technically, you could say that at this point it was going to be Mankind versus Stone Cold Steve Austin for the WWF Championship. Obviously, one night later, Big Show would have a chance to make good on his debut mess-up and would end up costing Mankind the WWF Championship to give it to The Rock.
Because, you know, Raw ratings are more important at this time.
Apparently. And we would end up getting Rock Austin 1 only about 1 month later. And quite frankly, I think between the 3 Rock Austin matches, most people would say that this was the weakest. Not necessarily bad, but not as good as the other 2.
I don't know. A lot of people think that 19 is the weakest.
Really?
Yeah.
I usually go 17, 19, 15.
I don't know. I always think this one's really good. This is like the standout match on that terrible show, but, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, but, yeah. Probably doesn't help that the show's terrible.
Yeah.
But that was St. Valentine's Day Massacre, and I mean, not a terrible show, but a really chaotic show. I think is the way to look at it. You know, when you see the WWE now, and you compare it to the WWE of 1999, yeah, there's a hell of a lot of differences.
Well, but WWE back then was kind of, that's a lot of what they were, was chaotic.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, it was, I think the biggest problem is this pay-per-view didn't seem, it seemed like they were booking for the next night on Raw rather than booking for WrestleMania.
Yeah, and, you know, that's the problem with when you had the Monday Night Wars and stuff, is a lot of these pay-per-views back then, they're really booking you to make sure you watch Raw the next night.
Yeah. You know, I mean, even if you look at the main event for Fastlane coming up next Sunday, you know, that's a triple threat match, and the winner gets the title shot at WrestleMania. You know what you're going to get there. You know, and that's one that's blatantly booking for WrestleMania. By the end of that night, you should know what your WrestleMania main event is going to be. As opposed to here, because of a draw, you're still up in the air as to what the WrestleMania 15 main event is going to be, and I think at this point it was only roughly 5 weeks until the pay-per-view, maybe?
When was it?
Something like that. So, there are certain things about today's product that I do like better. You know, and I know I'll catch flack for that, but oh well. You know, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, I don't think we can argue with match quality at all. I think you can maybe argue with, like, the way that they did promos, or, you know, that they had the entertaining segments or whatever, but, man, there were some things that people look back at this era with a large amount of rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you in that belief. You know, for every Sable fully loaded bikini contest, you also have to deal with, you know, Mae Young giving birth to a hand.
Or Mae Young at Royal Rumble 2000.
Why did you put that up?
So I had to watch that pay-per-view live, and scarred for life with that.
Just be happy they were fake.
Yes. Even
Anyway,
though at the time we didn't know that, so.
so true. I was like 9 at that point.
But,
Anyway, moving on, please, quickly. So let's just stop stalling and get right into it. Obviously, we're doing our best and our worst and our cash and our trash for St. Valentine's Day Massacre 1999. Well, that was the only one, but we've passed that. So, sure, let's just keep the ugliness going. What's your trash for this pay-per-view?
It's somewhere between the commentary and that awful. I'm going to give Michael Cole a pass. Boss Man and Midian is my trash.
How come? Come on, you gotta explain yourself.
Well, because the match is boring. I mean, and it's also trash on Vince's part for booking two heels against each other. It's just, and then it's two heels that are like, okay, look, Boss Man is, when he first came in, he had a cool character, whatever, and he still sort of had a decent character, and he can talk, he's not boring per se, but then like Midian's just, Lord, I don't think he ever gets entertaining, except maybe when he's naked Midian, so it's just, the whole thing, and it's trash on mostly on Vince's part for freaking having it on the show.
Interesting. I'm glad you took that. You know why?
Why?
I ain't giving Michael Cole a pass. Because for me, the trash was easily the commentary. And it wasn't just the bad jokes, although I will give him credit. This was the pay-per-view that has my favorite Michael Cole line, and is overall one of my favorite commentary jokes ever. And it was during the brawl on the outside for Austin McMahon, and they're fighting over by the announce table, and Austin hits Vince with a little desk fan, to which Michael Cole retorts, "Mr. McMahon's one fan, just hit him in the face." And to this day, 17 years later, that is still one of my favorite commentary lines, and is easily my favorite Michael Cole line. But that does not excuse the fact of all of the unfinished jokes, all of the unanswered questions, and Michael Cole's constant mixing up of chairs and stairs, which was constant throughout the Last Man Standing match. At least 3 times. I'm thinking as many as 5 times. Rock would hit with stairs, Michael Cole would call it a chair. They would hit each other with a chair, Michael Cole would call it a stair. And he just kept doing this. It just bugged the whole hell out of me the entire night.
Wow.
So, yeah, there's no way in hell I could give Michael Cole a pass on this, so my trash is the commentary.
So, I mean, I heard some of this, but I was also trying to do other things while I was watching this, too, so I wasn't, like, keyed in on the commentary, but, boy, that's terrible.
Like I said, I'm a thorough guy. When it comes to
you're calling the chair stairs. I mean, wow.
As a matter of fact, I think he actually does it on the final spot of the Last Man Standing match, too. He says, Rock and Mankind just cracked each other with stairs.
What?
On the final spot of the match.
There's stairs nowhere near them.
Exactly. Rock threw them out of the ring. Oh,
wow.
God. While we're laughing, why don't we get to the good part of this? What's your cash for this show?
Well, I think it has to be... I'd say the good. I mean, people like to talk crap about hardcore wrestling, but I think the good hardcore wrestling that was on the show. I think you had Al Snow and Hardcore Holly. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't like great, but it was entertaining, and they went all the way out to the river and beat each other with stuff. You had the last man standing match that was great. I mean, so you had the stuff with Austin and McMahon as well that was entertaining. So I would give my cast to that.
Fair enough. For me, I'm going similar to yours, but still a little bit of a twist, and it's the fact that he had a very wrestle-heavy pay-per-view. Even if you look at 1 month prior at the Royal Rumble, while yes, you had a match that was an hour long, the focus on that wasn't the wrestling itself. The focus on that was Austin, being attacked and going to the hospital and all that jazz. But in this case, like we mentioned earlier, you had as many as, I believe, I'm trying to remember, there's 8 matches on this, and you have 6 of them either approach or go over 10 minutes. We'll go 6 of them being 9.5 minutes or longer, including the final 2 in the grand scheme of things being over 20 minutes long. And yes, I'm counting the cage match being that. So, you didn't get that so much, but at this point, you got a lot of skit-heavy, promo-heavy shows, but you didn't get that here, which I greatly welcomed. So, that's got to be the wrestle-mindedness of the pay-per-view is going to be my cash for this show. And now, we got the best and the worst. I have a hunch I already know what yours is going to be, considering the fact that you already talked about it. So, are we just going to say that your worst match of this show being, Big Boss Man and Midian?
Yes.
All right. Fair enough. I'm going with the other bad match on this show, Gold Dust and Blue Dust, considering the fact that far and away the shortest match, and it was a one-sided squash. They could have at least, for a pay-per-view, to have a squash match, no. Just no. So, if Blue Dust didn't even have to get that much offense. Just give him something. But he pretty much got absolutely nothing. So for me,
and he got the shattered dreams afterwards, so it was like...
Yeah, no kidding. That's a straight kick in the nuts. Okay, they turned local Pat, but shut up. So yeah, I actually thought the worst match was the Battle of the Dust. But for you, what do you think the best match was?
Oh, the last man standing match, I think, clearly, far and away, the best match on the show. It was supposed to be the end of a rivalry. It quite wasn't. They moved it on to Raw, and it wasn't maybe the best match in the rivalry, but they clobbered each other with a bunch of stuff. They told the story of Mankind's leg really well too. They built that up, and it sucks they had a draw, but I don't think it takes away from it still being the best match on the show.
See, I didn't think it was the best match on the show, but part of it was the ending kind of killing it for me after all the hype of being the final chapter. For me, despite it also having a very stupid finish, but for me it actually was the cage match. The reason being, a lot of it is stuff that we mentioned earlier. Vince did not have to take that risk. Of the jump from the top of the cage through the announce table. In reality, he did not have to continue the match, after taking that and realizing, oh God, I just broke my tailbone. So I think they did the best with what they could. They made it a thing. They made it a 25-minute match, even though, like we said, bell to bell was only 8. But those 8 minutes are still filled with enough that it made you think maybe there was a chance that Vince was going to win. They left that doubt in your mind. So I think while the quality of the opponents, was nowhere near as good, but I think given the quality of the two people in there, being that one wasn't really a wrestler, I thought Vince, absolutely went above and beyond and did an amazing job for the cage match. So for me, I'm actually giving the cage match best match honors.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. So one final thing before we get out of here. Sorry, folks, if you were expecting Harry. Sorry. Sean, what is your final rating?
Yeah. I'll say a 6. There was, other than, the first 2 matches, if you take those away, and the first one was a squash, so, I kind of just ignored it. Everything else is either good to, you have 2 really, really good matches to bookend the show. The 2 that you were banking on, I thought really delivered. You may not have liked the finish to Mankind Rock, but it's still delivered in the actual, department. You had a little surprise with the hardcore match, the hardcore title match, So I think overall it's not a bad pay-per-view, but it's not, necessarily good pay-per-view. I'd say like average.
So no matter who I do the shows with, whether it's you and me, me and Harry, or just me and Harry, somehow we always manage to get the damn ratings close. And I'm waiting for the one show where we're totally separate. I gave the damn show a 6 too. for much the same reasons, the 2 matches that were just meh were actually the outliers here, and it was, a somewhat better than average show. But the thing about it was you didn't have a lot of clean finishes. You didn't really have a clean finish to the main event. You didn't have a clean finish to the title match. You didn't actually, I'm looking at it, you really only had 1 title match and then the clean finish. And that was the hardcore title match. Because the tag title match was the guitar to the knee and the figure 4 due to the outside interference. Then the Intercontinental title match, ended via screwery with, the fast count, and then the WWE title match, ends in a double knockout. But the actual in-ring product leading to those screwy finishes was actually still very good on most accounts. To me, this, if it had proper finishes of some sort, this probably could have been higher for me, but it was the constant screwy finishes and the commentaries, that just completely, kill it for me and force it down to a more average grade of a 6. So, once again, the hosts agree. So, that was the now 17-year-old WWF St. Valentine's Day Massacre. And it's been a mighty fun show. And too bad we're not going to have one next week. We're going to be off next week since it is the final stop on the road, well, the final major stop, I should say, on the road to WrestleMania 32, as it will be WWE Fastlane featuring a triple threat match for the WrestleMania title shot, as Brock Lesnar will face Roman Reigns facing Dean Ambrose, and we'll go 12:30 Eastern roughly for Blue 2M with, Sean, I'm just going to have you say who's going to be on it. We already know Harry's not going to be on it. So it's going to be you, me, and ...
I still haven't talked to Paul about whether he's working or not, so it'll be me and Gary and probably Tom again because there's on the back end we'll be doing the two ROH Honor Rising shows there are two Kirk and Hall shows that they're having on the 19th and 20th. We're just going to go ahead and review them after we get done talking about Fastlane. So again, it'll be a double show just like last time. So you can get geared up for that, of course. And of course, what are y'all doing the next time you do have a...
That's a damn good question.
You don't know yet?
Nope. All right, so put it this way. We know the idea. We don't know the order. What we are going to start with our next show 2 weeks from tonight, back at 8 Eastern, is we're going to start doing a whole hell of a lot of WrestleManias. We're going to do WrestleMania all through March, and because why just leave one outlier, we're going to have the February 28th episode also be a WrestleMania. So we're going to review 5 different WrestleManias, and we're thinking the idea is going to be the first one, obviously number 1, the most recent one. Then Harry and I are going to each pick one of our favorites. As for that 5th one, we're going to leave that to you guys, our fine listeners. So at some point, we're going to put a poll up, and we're going to let you guys determine what WrestleMania you want Harry and I to cover. So that will be the 5 WrestleManias that we're going to cover leading into WrestleMania 32. And then following that, the first Sunday after Mania, we're going to close out the season with the true story of WrestleMania and that 3-disc set. So you're going to get a hell of a lot of WWE from us over the next few weeks. And after that, we're going to stay the hell away from WWE for probably a month. So it should be a mighty interesting time as we go through and cover essentially the history of WrestleMania as only we can. But until then, if you want to listen to any of our other shows, well, first, Sean, do you have any of your own plugs?
Yeah, then next, this will be out right now as soon as we finish on iTunes and everything else. But on Monday morning, you can hear at least myself and Tom. We were going to have somebody else, but apparently he has a tooth problem. We'll be reviewing the New Japan in Nagata second New Beginning show. We'll kind of go over the other New Beginning show, and we'll kind of look at where New Japan's at going into that New Japan Cup that'll be happening in March. So that should be fun. It'll be a WTM Extra that you can listen to on Monday morning there. And yeah, that's pretty much it, because all the other stuff I don't have a schedule for right now. But
Oh, perfect. And as always, if you want to go back and listen to this again, you can find us on any of the major podcast platforms, whether it be Spreaker On Demand, iTunes, YouTube, Blueberry, Radio FM, or any other major ones that you can think of. You can always find us there. And if you want to yell at me and Harry some more, you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Wrestling Unwrapped, or you can find us on Twitter at WU Off the Shelf if you want to yell at Harry or I individually. For me, it is at Pat Ketza, Ketza, and Harry is at Heb the Eagle, HEBTHEEAGLE. And also, go wish him a happy birthday. You know, he deserves it. He does do a lot of hard work here. So, obviously, have a very happy birthday, Harry. Happy Valentine's Day to all you people that are actually in a relationship of some sort. But for Sean Garmer, I'm Patrick Hatsup. We'll see you next week for Woo 2, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for most likely WrestleMania 1. You have been listening to Wrestling Unwrapped as we cover WWF St. Valentine's Day Massacre 1999 here on the W2M Network on Spreaker in partnership with 411mania.com and lastwordonsports.com. See you next week, guys.